Hello, everyone, and welcome to my Tech Talk. This is Lieutenant Commander Scott Curtis, and I'm currently at Naval Air Station Sigonella, Italy. This presentation will be about wearable technologies. So, we will go over a brief background of wearable technology, which is simply any technology that is utilized while worn. This can be hearing aids, smartwatches, etc. There's even some electronic shoes and electronic socks, which could be seen on the picture, and those are typically show haptic feedback to the system. An interesting concept that is shown in that middle picture that I had not heard of previously is the smart tattoo or e-tattoo, which has been in the works for about a decade. This middle picture briefly describes those uses. The e-tattoo is a small elastic piece of silicone that is attached to the skin, which then transmits data to analyze the user's health. And it may be hard to picture, but it's applied like a children's temporary tattoo. Another interesting one that I noticed was on the lower right picture. Uh, it's what Dr. Julius Neubronner used, and he attached these cameras to pigeons in the early 1900s to gather some pictures. Anyways, the vast majority of wearable technologies are healthcare based, bringing information to the user, such as vital signs. And this is typically performed via Bluetooth, but can also be sent over the internet to cloud storages. So, the state of the art in wearable technologies is trying to determine how this technology can be minimized. For example, the cell phone has been described as one of the greatest innovations in wearable technology because it's compacted multiple different technologies into the one device. Nanotechnologies are being fabricated in which they can be implanted into the skin or placed in a strainless way, as was seen in the e-tattoos. The modern wearables are also utilizing AI to portray the full depiction of the user's health instead of singular data points. The AI then determines the big picture of the user's health instead of just telling you something as simple as heart rate. So think of some of the new Apple Watches with how they can analyze heart rhythms with the ECG. For the most part, the wearable technologies are minimal in size. However, there are still complaints and concerns regarding the size or requirements needed to place these items onto the body. Researchers still feel like these wearable technologies are too bulky. Some of the cutting edge studies have been trying to make wearable technologies that can flex with the human body in natural ways. A study conducted in 2023 admits that there is a long way to go to perfect these strain sensors. However, there is increased optimism that advancements will be rapid to have these released in the near future. Research performed in 2024 has utilized wearables to create models of athletes in the prevention of sports injuries. The analytical models created by the wearable technology were then turned into algorithms in order to prevent sports injuries. This in turn allowed the trainers to understand how to best prepare the athletes and when to push them to their limits. And as you see in this picture right here, all of these different sensors can help these researchers determine how the athlete is sleeping and recovering, their cardiovascular health, and their return to when they could begin training again. So, one of the biggest things in recent news was the Defense Health Agency contracted a $96 million project towards the Aura rings, as shown in this picture right here, for the purpose of collecting data from our service members. The data analysis would involve monitoring physiological stress, recovery, resilience, etc. Also, the data would then be used to host classes for service members, such as stress relief or better sleep symposiums. Of course, there were many protests regarding this technology. Many cited invasion of privacy, as there was the belief that service members would end up being forced to use this. Also, many thought that this was a complete waste of money that could be spent on other needs within the military. I won't get into these debates, but it is interesting how widespread these wearable technologies are becoming, even within the Department of Defense. So Google has been announcing these Google Glasses since I was in high school, but it really looks like they're coming to fruition. These aren't quite the bulky Apple Vision Pros that went viral a few years back, or the cyborg renditions of the original Google Glass. These are much more discreet and look like regular sunglasses. These glasses will run Android XR, which incorporates augmented reality, virtual reality, as well as artificial intelligence, and it can overlap text to translate languages, depict furniture in your living room, or broadcast Google Maps directions without having to even look down. All of this still requires you to be connected to your mobile device, however. This was recently announced at the TED 2025 conference, which at the recording of this video was just about 2 weeks ago. And it's expected to launch this week at the Google I/O event. And here are my references. Thank you for listening to my tech talk. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them in the discussion board. I look forward to learning from all of your videos, and thanks again and take care.